Okay, time to have a look at the Acanthrite conversions and see how I'm getting on. Plus, at the end of this video, there's some bonus material about the next stage of the conversions. Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, another update on my Acanthrite conversions. I've received the bits that I was waiting for that came from America, and that was the tomb spider section that goes on the side of the Necron obelisk. They seem to be ideal, and I got them quite cheap actually. I think it was £12, but that was including £7 postage from America. So I thought that was actually pretty good. The Wraiths themselves actually pretty much cost me nothing, so I'm still well in on the Forge World price of £39 plus postage if I bought them for Forge World. But not only that, and more importantly, I've had a lot of fun making these models, and at the end of it I'm going to have quite a unique unit. Okay, so without further ado, let's zoom in, just move those out the way and have a closer look at these models. Okay, there we go. So I started off with the tomb spider head. I green stuff in the neck where I'd sort of chopped off the wraith head. I did keep the wraith little wire there, and I used that into the actual head, so that sort of worked quite well. But yeah, the head looking really cool, and of course the original Acanthrites actually have pretty much that head on there. And then the claws. Now the claws are slightly smaller than the original model, but I think they do the job incredibly nicely, especially if you consider that my Wraith body is also a little bit smaller than the original model as well. The front claw, I just used the actual Wraith armpits as such to glue that in. And then on the side claws I drilled some holes into the metal, put some green stuff in, a ton of super glue, and they've glued very nicely, and I'm really happy how they're looking. I did fill in the armpit of the Praetorian body at the top there, and I've filed the plastic and metal down before gluing these on, so they're nice and flush. Yeah, I think really taking shape. Now I've still got more work to do, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but first of all let's show you the other two. So there's that one. You can just imagine now these floating along. I think they're going to be really cool. And then the other one here, which has his tail sort of spindled up, I put the claws sort of inwards on this one, so they're a little bit more closer together. Thought it keeps the pose quite nicely. So that's how that one is looking. So what is next? Well, there's two things next to be done. First of all is on the bottom of the tail. Now where this obviously was originally a wraith, it had the big chunk of metal on the bottom of the tail, if I could find it, there we go, that came out where you're supposed to sort of glue it to the base. So obviously I had to chop that off and file it down, so I'm left with an undetailed section. But that's going to be fine, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to green stuff a little like armoured plate onto the bottom of the tail, which is going to hide that quite nicely. And if I show you the picture of the original model, it does actually have like an armoured plate on the bottom of the tail as well, so this sort of works really well. So that's one thing that I've got to do. And then the last thing, as discussed in the previous video, was the Wraith back pieces, which I've got this one here, which I've already trimmed down. So I've trimmed down this side section. Now this hasn't been cleaned up. This is almost just an experiment. But I chopped that off. The side section, which was sticky outy, because it didn't really work very well. And now I've got all the claws all glued on. I can start to see how this is going to look if I glue one on. So it's going to be, I'm thinking of gluing it on roughly about there. And I think that will work really well, because it will be like the second plate that's covering up the actual arms. It will beef it up quite nicely. There is going to be a gap between the body and that plate, which at first I was thinking, oh, maybe I should push it right up hard against it, maybe try and green stuff it and mould it all together. But in actual fact, if you look at the original picture once again, let me just bring one in. if you look at this, that back armour plate here isn't actually joined to the backpack at all. It's just, once again, just like up in the air. It's like almost just like a second plate. So there's clearly two plates here. So I think actually this is going to work quite well. So I think what I am going to do is I'm going to do that. So I've got to get all of these plates. I've got to cut off the sides, trim them all up, fire them up into shape, and then I'm going to glue them on into that sort of section, roughly that sort of area. But I think that will be pretty cool. It will beef them up quite nicely. I might potentially cut this sort of corner off here to make it sort of a bit more flat or rounder, possibly. I'm going to have to see how it looks. I'm not 100% decided, but I think I am going to use the plate somehow, because they are slightly too spindly, I think. So that is how I've got on. So I really do hope you like them. I certainly am very pleased with them. Of course, once I've done the green stuff plates there, put that on as well, I've then of course got to magnetise the flying bases on as well, and then they'll be finished. So hopefully in the next video you'll see these guys all finished up. Okay, so I'm back. Just stopped recording, been sitting here fiddling around with these conversions, and I've come up with an idea. I thought I'd just share it whilst I've got you in this video. So yeah, going back to these Wraith bits, basically when I put this Wraith piece here, even with this one cut down here, there's two things I don't like about it. One, it still gives me that Wraith look. And two, I've got like quite a big gap here between the shoulder joints here, and although it is supposed to be a separate piece, I just feel it just doesn't really work. So I came up with an idea of, what about if I turn this around and I have it going like this. So I've just taken that other bit which I'd already clipped down, I've been clipping it a little bit more, and I just blue tacked it into position, and this is what it looks like. So yeah, basically I reshaped the back just to sort of match it into the body a little bit more, to keep it a little bit more streamlined, and then that small section just goes up over into the shoulder joints. So it covers these two legs. So ultimately this is supposed to be armour. So this armour covers the two back legs. This one obviously is supposed to cover the front legs. And then, you know, the reason probably why it's not joined is so that this can obviously rotate and move. So I was thinking that would work quite well. Now arguably, I'm not 100% sure, this potentially could go up and sort of over more, like that potentially. Or I could sort of match it in with that shoulder joint, which I think is probably what I'm going to do, just match it in with the shoulder joint. Now I could green stuff this and make it just one join, potentially, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think I am definitely liking the shape of that a lot more. I can imagine that on both sides. I think it will beef it up, and also I think it will take away the sort of Wraith look that I think the original plate in that position, regardless of how much I trimmed it down, I started off trimming it down here, so I actually took this section off, and no matter what I did, it just looked like the back of a Wraith, whereas putting it this way, I think that does actually take that away. So yeah, let me know what you think. Bit of a bonus there on the end of the video. Okay, so that's it for me, definitely this time. Thanks for watching.